Hello YouTube, this is my very first ever video, which is just so exciting. I wanted to launch this first video to kind of show my process with Fulbright and my journey with Fulbright and how I've dealt with the very long process that it's been. It's been almost a year now, and I've learned so much through this process, and I really wanted to share it. So thank you for tuning in, and this is my brand new channel, Project Bloom. So a little bit about me, and before I really dive into this topic today, I just want to kind of talk a little bit about this channel and where I come from, what this whole thing is about. And I'm a recent graduate from Florida State University. My name's Eli, and I've spent the last 4 years doing a lot of different things within marine biology, and I've learned so much through this process of really navigating the world within my university and other places throughout the world. So I wanted to create this channel for two reasons. And the first reason being that when I was first getting involved in marine biology, when I was searching the internet for all the possibilities of this whole field and different ways to go about getting involved in it, different opportunities, I found that it was really difficult to find a lot of those things in one place. And especially on YouTube, there's only like a few resources that it's not posted on that often. So I wanted this channel as a resource for people that are really interested in marine biology and people that want to make a difference. So the second reason I really wanted to create this channel was because after receiving this unbelievable opportunity to become a Fulbright scholar, which I still can't wrap my head around how honored I am to do that, I wanted to start this channel as a way to amplify the impact that I know it will have on my life, and I know it will have on so many others. There's just so much that I've learned in this past year, just before the project's even started in applying, and there's so much learning that's going to happen, and I want to bring those lessons to the rest of the world. Anyway, today I want to share some of the steps that I took in order to prepare for Fulbright and the things that I've learned along the way. Before I really get into this, I just want to say that I don't in any way represent Fulbright, and I definitely don't have any affiliation other than being a actual recipient, and my views don't represent what Fulbright means, if that makes sense. But anyway, these are the steps that I took to apply for this really awesome opportunity. So my first step in the very initial phases of getting started with Fulbright is to find a mentor. Find someone at your university, if you're at a university. If you're not, find a friend, find someone that's going to support you through this process, because it's not going to be easy. It's going to be long, and it's going to be hard if you're really dedicating to this and you really want to get it. For my project, I had two main mentors that kind of coached me through this whole process. And I was really lucky that our university has a specific Office of National Fellowships. And so I was working with an advisor that kind of coached me through this whole thing. He was absolutely incredible in picking me up when I was down and helping me improve my application. And my second mentor was my research supervisor, who was my biggest ally in this. I really wasn't that experienced with research before, or really in the beginning of starting this project, I had only had like a year or two as an undergraduate researcher. So there was so much I needed to learn about building an effective proposal, and my research supervisor was unbelievably helpful. So anyway, that's the first step, is making sure that you have one or some people that are gonna help guide you through this process. They're gonna be your biggest cheerleaders and your biggest supporters through this, so it's so important to have them from the get-go, from day one. So at this point in your application process, if you haven't done so already, I would recommend coming up with a sort of schedule that you're gonna have for your review. It should take many drafts for this project to be competitive with other Fulbright applications. Personally speaking, I had 18 drafts for my personal statement, and I think I had 12 for my grant proposal. So just know that this is not really a small undertaking. If you really want this, you really have to dedicate a lot of time. there's only 3 pages for your application between the personal statement and then the grant purpose. You have to make those 3 pages spectacular. So take as much time as possible to come up with draft over draft over draft, and establish a schedule for that over the time period before the application. I was really lucky that we had something called the Office of National Fellowships at our university, and I was able to work with an advisor through this whole process. We met weekly over the whole summer, and I would email him my draft, and he would write down his feedback, and then he would also talk about his feedback in person with me. And this was crucial to improving my grammar and improving how I articulated my project. I never would have received this award without that. Like, you can have the most beautiful project and it can be, all the pieces are there, but if you can't explain it well, then you won't get it. You won't be able to argue it. So I was lucky that I had this resource at my university, but if you don't have that, then I would recommend going to your friends and going to people you know that are your mentors that would also be able to help you in this process. Try to, if you can't do it weekly, do it bi-weekly, do it monthly, but establish some kind of schedule where you're going to be working towards a deadline so you can continue to push out better and better drafts. So my second step, this is so important before you do anything, after you've figured out who your mentors are that are going to help you through this Fulbright process, is to know your connections. So this is so important in building a valid project that's going to be reputable when you actually get to the point of really developing this project and applying. I don't know, I'm not as familiar with the English teaching assistant application, but for the research award, your connections are vital. And if you don't have a direct primary connection in another country or whatever you're interested in, seek out your mentors and your colleagues and see what connections they have. Because even if you don't know anyone directly in another country, that's totally okay. You probably know someone else that does have a connection in a different country. So start talking to people and start figuring out where might be best for you to look into. Your initial connections that you have in the country that you're shooting for are going to be your greatest asset in getting insider knowledge, developing more connections within that community, and making your project so much more valid. So this will look so much better to Fulbright if you have these connections, you have people that can really speak for you and that you actually know or you have a meaningful connection with. And it's also going to give you a lot of confidence moving into it, that you have someone you have a connection with on the other side that's going to help guide you when you get a little bit lost in a foreign culture. For my project, when I was doing my honors thesis, I ended up posting about my honors thesis. I was really excited about it. I was 3D modeling artificial reefs and doing a little bit of research with corals and invertebrates on them. I posted this, and my mentor from an internship I did a few years earlier in Honduras actually reached out to me, and he was really excited about my thesis because in the Philippines, he does really similar research. He 3D models the reefs also and does work on the invertebrates there. So he messaged me, he was like, hey, this is super cool. This is also kind of what we do. We should think about collaborating. And at the time, I didn't really think, I had no idea how that would even work. So I was just like, yeah, that'd be really cool. But I didn't really know how that was going to work out. So eventually, when I started thinking about Fulbright and potential places that I could possibly go, this was like the obvious first place to think of, because not only did I have a connection in the Philippines now, but I had someone that does similar work to me, which was so cool. And this was able to give me a much clearer idea of what was possible, because he was able to provide me with some of the things that were already happening in the Philippines and some of the things that were a little bit more relevant. And thinking about that method of research, it was giving me a much better idea of what was actually realistic to accomplish. All right, so now that you've figured out like a little bit more about your connections in different countries, this is now when you want to really pinpoint which country is best for you. And so before you start getting really excited about any specific country, you have to go to the Fulbright website and actually look through the countries that you're interested in and see if you're actually eligible to go to that country and conduct a project there. Certain things are going to make you eligible for any specific country. This varies obviously between all countries. There's some geographical restrictions in some countries. For my country, you aren't even allowed to conduct a project in the South, so make sure that there's not any geographical restrictions. Some countries have language requirements. I was very lucky that mine did not, because I didn't have much experience with Tagalog, but it is recommended that I continue my knowledge development of Tagalog as I get closer to my Fulbright scholarship and while I'm there. But for other countries, you need to be fluent. For other countries, you need to have some rudimentary skills at least in the language before you start. But again, this varies from country to country. It's also important to look at the different degree levels that are accepted per country. For mine, it was bachelor's, master's, or doctoral. So although this is why it can get really competitive, because I'm competing with doctoral candidates, which is still crazy that I am only a bachelor's student and I was able to do this, but it's really cool. But yeah, again, so don't think that if you don't have your master's already and you're not like a PhD candidate that you can't do this. I was in the middle of my senior year. Before my senior year, I was a junior and I applied to this and I ended up getting it. So don't doubt yourself. Anyone can do this. I also had never been to the country. You can do this. So another thing to keep your eye out for when you're looking for different countries is the timeline. So I don't know if this might affect fieldwork if you're doing a research award, but some projects will start in August and some will start in January, just depending on the school year or the academic year for that specific country. And some are down to mine's down to 9 months. I don't know if it goes lower than that, but some go up to 12 months. And there's a little bit of variation in how much time for each award. So just pay attention to that also. I don't know if that affects your timeline. And the last thing that you have to consider is the proposal types that are available. So if you want to become an English teaching assistant in the Philippines, you can't do that. The Philippines only has research awards. So if you are trying to become an English teaching assistant or you want to conduct an actual research project, you have to make sure that there is actually that available with your country. And for some other countries, there's a lot of different types of Fulbright awards. The two main ones are the research award and the English teaching assistant position, but there's also master's programs and there's also much more specific programs. I was just interested in doing a research award because I wanted to conduct an individual project, but there's all kinds of different things that you can do. So another really important thing when you're starting to figure out which country you think you want to work with, of course, your connections are the most important thing and are probably going to be the most pull you in the direction of one country over another. But also pay attention to at the top of the Fulbright page for your individual country, or for each individual country, at least for the Philippines, they say what they're even looking for in applications. And I was really lucky that the very first thing that says it's sought after is environmental studies or environmental sciences, which was my topic, which was really incredible. So these were some of the things that were starting to line up really well in picking my country and gaining a lot more confidence in recognizing that this was more and more possible. All right, so now that you've kind of figured out which country is best for you, this is the part where you should start brainstorming all of your project ideas. So this is the fun but not so fun part of really figuring out how you're gonna make a meaningful project, but build on what you know. That is my biggest piece of advice. Don't try to just completely jump into something that you've never even had experience with the methods to do. Again, this is talking a lot about the research award, but build on experiences that you have, because that's more, it's easier to build a project on something that you have experience with. So make a list of the things that you're most passionate about within this country or within this topic, and make a list of the goals that you have with this project. What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish out of it? And why is this country your best choice? Why is it ideal? And also ask for help from people that you've worked with. So I was able to talk to my supervisor, and she was able to help really kind of redirect me in a direction that really helped me identify that I wasn't so good at this type of methodology, but I was really good at this methodology. And she helped really refine my project direction. And then talking with my friends in the Philippines that own that NGO, he was able to help me really identify things that were relevant to the country. And that's really, really important. I think above all, you need to make sure that what you are saying isn't just really important for you and it doesn't just resonate with you, but showing and really emphasizing how relevant this is to the country or region that you are studying. The Philippines coral restoration is super important because fisheries are what this country relies on. So many of the people there rely on fisheries to support their families. So this project already was pretty relevant with the Philippines. And to continue improving its relevance, I did a lot of personal research to kind of look up the most recent news lines dealing with fisheries and coral restoration and all things surrounding that topic. And I think that really helped me identify how to really form my argument that this was necessary, this is timely, this is what we need right now, which is what you need to tell Fulbright. I'm passionate and this is necessary. So once you've really nailed down what your project idea is, this is when it's a really good idea to start reaching out to your affiliates, or before then or after then. But I think it's a really good idea to, once you really have that idea solidified, because then you can make a really good argument to your affiliates or the people that you're reaching out to that your project matters. So that's all that I have today for Fulbright. I know it was a lot, but thank you for watching this video. If you found this useful, please give it a like and subscribe. I probably have, who knows? But just starting out, this is my very first video. And also, this is just how I did things. Again, this is just what worked for me. This is the exciting thing about Fulbright, is you do it exactly how you want to do it. And this is just what worked for me, and someone might have a completely different approach to how they go about the application process. And that's totally fine. This is just, hopefully some parts of this were useful to someone. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more videos about navigating the world of marine biology as I learn more about it. And as I reflect, I guess, on the experience I've had in it, there's so much that I've learned, and I'm really excited for this channel as an opportunity to share it. And I'm excited for its future.